Hey, what's going on, everyone? Episode 10, Life is Horror. It's been a while. It's a dark, rainy, boring night. So I figured why not distract myself by doing this? Give me something to do. I've watched 100 movies since the last time I spoke to y'all. Lots of horror news has been released since. So I got a lot to talk about. But I'm only going to talk about a couple of things. And the mini reviews for tonight will be for Evil Dead Rise and Project Wolf Hunting. And today's main topic of discussion will be my top 10 favorite horror movies of 2010. I might even list a couple of movies you've never heard of, so stick around. You might learn some new titles. So, yeah, let's get into these news topics, shall we? This will be quick. All right, so Smile 2, these are all sequels, by the way. Smile 2, early development. Parker Finn, I believe that's his name, who directed Smile 1, that was just released last year. Um, so that's an early development. I'm not sure what they're going to do. I mean, what else can you do with that concept? I mean, I wasn't that big of a fan of it. It was all right, but yeah, like, I don't know. We haven't heard anything else about it other than it's happening. So Smile 2, that's happening, apparently. I'm not crazy about it. I don't care if they make it or not. So that's my thought. Smile 2 and Fall 2, another one that doesn't need to happen. Like, do we need a Fall 2? I liked Fall. It had me on the edge of my seat because I have extreme fear of heights, so that just made me like sweat watching it, like give me chills, and I get chills just thinking about being in that kind of situation, stuck like 3,000 feet in the air on a small platform, like ugh. So, but yeah, Fall 2, like what else are you gonna do? Like just new characters, new tower to fall off of? I don't know. Uh, that's an early development. Who knows if that will actually happen? But here's what is happening: Beetlejuice 2. This has been rumored, I feel like, for years, but now it's actually happening. Like, they've reported that it is filming and it's been casted, returning cast members from the original coming back, directors coming back, Tim Burton. I like Beetlejuice 1, so I'm looking forward to Beetlejuice 2. Jenna Ortega has been casted. She's been in a lot of movies lately, a couple of shitty ones that you probably haven't heard of. Scream 6. um, but yeah, she's gonna be in that. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about that shit. So let's get into the movies. All right, first one up, Project Wolf Hunting. So this is a Korean film by Kim Hong Sun, and it is basically about prisoners on a ship, and they break out, and then they realize that there's something even more evil than themselves, more badass than themselves, underneath the in the like the engine room below, underneath the deck. There's something evil below that awakens. And I went into this movie completely blind. I had no idea that's the turn it was going to take. I just thought it was going to be like a violent action movie, because that's what I heard about it, was that it was just really violent, and they weren't lying. This is definitely the goriest film of the year. And it is currently on Amazon Prime. I think it's Shudder or Screenbox, one of those two. So, yeah, what can I say about this movie? It's listed as 2022, but technically it came out this year, got a wide release in May. So, yeah, this is a super violent, ultra gory sci fi action prison breakout movie set on a ship on its way to Korea. The inmate characters are very colorful, and the pacing is great for 2 hours. It's a longer movie, but it doesn't feel that long. But that's true for all Korean films, especially. The Asian films are always typically around 2 hours or longer. That just seems to be their thing. They always make longer movies. In America, they always keep it around 90 minutes. Korea, it's always like 2 hours. But that's not a bad thing in this case. So yeah, it's shot well, cinematography looks good, and the violence, man. There's a huge body count. There's so many prisoners on this ship. So many people get fucked up in many different ways. Sledgehammers, all kinds of weapons being used, arms ripped off, people getting beat with their own severed limbs. It gets pretty brutal. Lots of head bludgeoning, blood spraying. It's one of those movies where, if they get their throat slit, it doesn't just drip out, it just sprays out like Kill Bill, that kind of blood. It's very sprayy, like fountains, just That's my kind of gore. This is a very gory movie. If you want just gore, this is the movie for you. And just a couple of surprises, and it sets up a sequel that I am down for, definitely. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about it. There's not a lot of substance to the movie. It's just people on a ship getting the shit beat out of them, and almost literally, like they get stomped on, and this guy is just fucking scary. Like the villain in this movie is actually quite terrifying. And the look of the guy, he's got like kind of like predator vision, like he sees like body temperature and super strength, and it's awesome, super fun. All right, so Project Wolf Hunting, that's all I gotta say about that. Now let's move on to Evil Dead Rise. Mommy Loves You to Death. This one is directed by Lee Cronin, who made A Hole in the Ground, a movie, not a literal hole in the ground, but he made a movie called A Hole in the Ground a few years back. Much different kind of movie than this is. And this is the fifth movie in the franchise, and it basically has nothing to do with the other ones. Like, there's no connection. It's not a sequel to Evil Dead 2013. It doesn't acknowledge like anything in the first few movies. Ash, it's just new setting, new characters, kind of new looking. It looked new to me. The Necronomicon kind of has a new design in this one. It has like teeth on the side of it instead of the front. It doesn't have like a face. From what I remember, it's been a few months now since I watched it. I just remember there being like teeth on the side. So yeah, three siblings find an ancient vinyl that gives birth to bloodthirsty demons that run amok in a Los Angeles apartment building and thrust them into a primal battle for survival as they face the most nightmarish version of family imaginable. And this stars Lily Sullivan and Alyssa Sutherland. And yeah, her look, like she looks freaky when she has the demon makeup on. What do they call themselves? Deadites. When she's a Deadite, Sutherland, like she's got like the best face to play a Deadite. I don't know, just something about her look. And when she has the contacts in, and like she looks freaky. Beautiful when she's not a Deadite, but then when she becomes a Deadite, like she's awesome. And definitely the best part of the movie is her performance and her dialogue when she's a Deadite. The Deadite dialogue, it's a lot of it's in the trailer. You know, mommy's with the maggots now. I kind of wish this movie would have had a connection to one of the other movies, but it doesn't. And it definitely pays homage to the other movies. There's lots of little Easter eggs and things borrowed from like parts one and two. Certain kills, certain gore scenes, gags are kind of borrowed and reused, recycled. Like the tree rape scene is kind of recycled here. It's in an apartment building now instead, so there's no trees around. So what do? They use like elevator cables, and there's a Shining homage with a bunch of blood. The gore seems to be saved for the third act in this one, so that's kind of one of my complaints is that it takes a while to get going. Now this isn't a slow movie, but for an Evil Dead movie, it's kind of slow. This one paces more like a traditional movie, a traditional horror movie where the first like 35 minutes is like outside of the opening. But once you get past the opening, which I'll talk about in a bit, once you get past that, it's like a crawl of just character development, setup, lots of setup. Like they're like showing all these weapons that are going to be used later on, like passing by like a wood chipper in the basement of this apartment building and all these different weapons. But yeah, so lots of foreshadowing. But yeah, it doesn't pace like a Evil Dead movie. These movies are usually known for kind of hitting the ground running. They're very short, fast movies. This one's, I think, the longest movie in the franchise, but at like an hour and 40 minutes, I think, or close to an hour and 40. And yeah, it's the slowest paced movie, but not a slow movie, like I said, but slow for Evil Dead. They throw in a new type of demon in this. I won't spoil what it is exactly, what it looks like, but I liked that. It was fresh, something new to the series. Kind of short lived. I wish it would have been introduced a little sooner. And this is the first one to be in an apartment building, and it's the first Evil Dead movie to have children. Now, there's the first problem. when you're dealing with horror movies and there's children involved, you know they're safe. They got plot armor. They're not going to get killed. And that's the case with this one. You got like a 6-year-old girl that you know is not going to get killed. And it's not spoiling much by saying that she doesn't get killed by the end. She's safe. So, therefore, because you got these kids in the movie, it makes the film, for me, less scary. I think the remake is still the most terrifying movie in the franchise. And this one just pales in comparison in terms of scares. I didn't think this movie was very scary at all. Um, so yeah, what else here? I'm skimming through my notes. Okay, the open shot immediately is an homage to Evil Dead. Same kind of shot, floating camera, demon POV, and kind of turns into like a good fake out. Um, yeah, like the gore effects, to me, it seemed like it got worse in between the last movie and this one. Not to say that they're dog shit, but just comparing it, I feel like the effects didn't get better in the last 10 years for this movie. There's a couple of sequences that kind of took me out of it. There's a severed head that looked really cheesy and fake as hell. I just wish that could have looked better. Now, the opening title card, that was a cool moment. The music there and the way the title card appeared, I was like, that's awesome. And it's one of those movies that opens at the end, and then by the end of the movie, I question, like, was that even necessary? Like, I don't know, it just felt tacked on. Like, it had no connection to what the rest of the movie was. Like, that character should have been connected to the rest of the movie that we see in the opening. I don't like movies that do that. They open at the end, and then it's like, previously, the day before, and then you know where it's leading now because of it. I don't like that. Um, so yada yada yada. Missed opportunity. Not having Deadite mom exit air vent with Deadite kitty. They establish that there's a cat in the air vents above, and then the mom goes through the air vents like John McClane, and I was expecting her to come out with the cat and kill it, or there be a Deadite cat. But no, so that was that was a missed opportunity. The peephole scene in the trailer, the little girl's looking through the peephole, and there's like all this carnage in the hallway. One of the highlights of the movie, but I missed opportunity again, and it could have been better. It could have been lit better. My issue was in the theater, it was too dark. That scene was lit so dark that I couldn't tell what was happening to certain characters. I was seriously struggling, just staring at a body, like what the hell happened to that person. So that was an issue for me. The score to the film, once you get past the opening title card, the music in this movie never stood out to me, never noticed it. Whereas in the remake, the score was fantastic. So yeah, I'm a big soundtrack and score person. I always try to focus on that stuff. And I didn't notice the music in this one. So yeah, that's all I gotta say really about Evil Dead Rise. If I had to rate these movies, I would rate them both the same in terms of enjoyment, entertainment. I think they're both, very good movies. I would rate them both an 8 out of 10, or Letterboxd 4 out of 5. So yeah, my ratings are based on how much I enjoy a movie. I don't care about film quality. It could be a low budget, poorly made movie. If it's so bad it's entertaining, I'll rate it high. Even if it has terrible acting, I don't care as long as I'm into the movie. So yeah, that's my rating system. So 4 out of 5 for both of these movies, worth checking out. So Evil Dead Rise, done. All right. So now let's jump into my top 10 favorite horror movies from 2010. Now, the first movie I'm going to bring up, I just watched for the first time recently, never heard of it. Probably because of it being a German film. And it's got a very funky title, a German title. And I'm probably not going to pronounce it correctly, but it's called Senentunchi. Senentunchi. What is this movie about? I'm not going to talk long, if at all, about any of these movies because I don't write notes for these films. Only movies that came out this year do I write notes for them. So all these older movies, I have no notes written for them. So I'm not going to talk about them, pros and cons. I'm just going to list them, tell you what they're about, and move on. So Sin and Tunisia, there's more to the title here on Letterboxd. It's called Curse of the Alps. So 1975, Swiss Alps, in a remote mountain village, a beautiful and mysterious woman shows up. And this is a very lengthy synopsis here. Only the village policeman takes care of the strange woman and tries to find out who she is. There are hints that she came from the German word Hohenalp. It's one of those letters with the dots above it. I think they're called umlauts in the German alphabet. Umlaut, the Hohenalp. So where herdsmen do unthinkable things to get the company of women. Yada 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 yada. It is the beginning of a nightmare of religious insanity, hypocrisy, abuse, and belief in demons, who destroys a young family and brings the whole village to destruction. There's a lot to this. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. The one thing I will say is that there was a surprising reveal in the last like 20 minutes that really boosted my rating for this movie. And the way it was revealed, it felt like a Saw movie. The way it was like edited together. Like they should have played that Charlie Clausen music over it. Like it was like, what the fuck? Like it was a cool reveal. It totally got me. So yeah, there we go. Next up, number 9, Devil. This movie is from director John Eric Dowdle, whatever, who did As Above, So Below, Quarantine, and the Poughkeepsie Tapes. This is a very short, quick movie. It's about a group of people trapped in an elevator high above Philadelphia, and one of them is the devil. Dun dun dun. I think this is written by M. Night Shyamalan. He produced it and he wrote it. So yeah, M. Night Shyamalan movie. Very short, quick-paced movie, and yeah, it's just a fun mystery. You know, who's the devil? And I like movies like this where they're trapped in one location, you know, claustrophobic, and just one setting, you know, a situation that's like almost impossible to get out of. You know, like Saw. Like this is like Saw in an elevator, but there's no trap. But you know, one of them's the devil. So yeah, underrated movie. Underrated. Predators. This is debatable if it's even horror, but I'll count it because why the fuck not? Predators, number 8. This is the 3rd movie in the Predator franchise. The 5th movie, if you count the AVP movies. Directed by, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, Nimrod. It's an O with a little apostrophe thing above it. I don't know what's called. Nimrod Antal? Where's this guy from? He's Hungarian. All right, he's a Hungarian-American director who did Vacancy. I love that movie, Vacancy. That's an underrated movie. Luke Wilson. Yeah. So, I'm not even sure if I need to read a synopsis for this one. I think you guys know what it's about. It's about a bunch of people in a jungle on a different planet being hunted by these predators. And they have these predator dogs, and they're just trying to survive. It's one of those survival movies, really. And it's got a lot of action, and Derek Mears plays one of the predators. If you don't know who that is, he played Jason Voorhees in the remake of Friday the 13th. So, number 7, Rec 2. Now, I believe this is the first case where I have a movie that was released in 2009 overseas but didn't get a release in the United States until 2010. So I forgot to talk about that earlier. Should have brought it up, but now's a good time, I guess. So for this list, in every list in the future that I make, kind of like how earlier I was talking about Project Wolf Hunting, it was listed as 2022, but there was no way I was going to see it until this year when it actually got released, you know, wide for people in the United States. So there was no way Project Wolf Hunting was going to make my top 10 of last year. I didn't get to see it last year. So it's going to possibly be on my top 10 of 23 list. Just like this movie, Rec 2. In 2009, I wasn't going to be able to watch this movie and put it on my top 10 in 2009 list. That's why it's on my 2010 list. So that will be the case for every year after. If I do a 2011 list, 12, 13, 14, so on and so forth. It doesn't matter what Letterboxd tells me or IMDb tells me. What matters is what year did the movie actually get released wide, theatrical, VOD, in the United States for me to see. That's what I'm doing. So, Rec 2, 2010, not 2009. According to my research, I did a lot of research. I was checking everywhere to see when these movies actually got their wide release. So, Rec 2, sequel to 2007's Rec, although I bet you could argue it wasn't 2007, it was 2008 in the United States. So, this movie, directed by foreign names I'm not even going to try to pronounce. I'm just going to embarrass myself because I don't know how to pronounce these names. So let's just skip that part. All right, so the action continues from Rec with the medical officer and a SWAT team outfitted with video cameras are sent into the sealed off apartment to control the situation. Short and sweet. That's all it is. A direct continuation. It picks up immediately, and I love that about it. And yeah, it's just a fun movie. The first Rec is one of my favorite found footage movies, one of my favorite zombie movies, you could say, or demon possession movies. That's a cool thing about these movies. The Rec films, they're like a hybrid. They're like, you could argue them as demon possession because of what you find out in the third act, or they kind of feel like zombie movies because they are dead, but then they come back from the dead, so by definition that's a zombie, right? But they're also demonic, so it's like it's both. So yeah, fun demon possession zombie movies. Rec 2, not as good as the first one, but still a great movie. By the way, every movie that I'm talking about so far is a 8 out of 10 for me, and will continue to be so until we get to my top 3. So, next movie on the list, number 6. Yeah, number 6, The Crazies remake. One of the best remakes out there. I do prefer this over Romero's original. Wasn't a big fan of the original when I first saw it, but on rewatch, I actually do like that movie much more now. But it still doesn't compare to this one. This one's a better movie. I love Timothy Olyphant in this one. And quick plot synopsis: directed by Breck Eisner, who hasn't really done anything else in the horror movie genre. So, Breck Eisner's The Crazies. 4 friends find themselves trapped in their small hometown after they discover their friends and neighbors are going quickly and horrifically insane. So this is not a zombie movie, but rather a virus infection movie. And yeah, like I said, one of the best remakes out there, and I do have a review of this movie on my channel, so you can check that out if you want to hear more of my thoughts. Stakeland, a vampire movie by director Jim Mickle, who directed the remake of We Are What We Are, and Mulberry Street, and Cold in July. So, Stakeland. Martin was a normal teenage boy before the country collapsed in an empty pit of economic and political disaster. A vampire epidemic has swept across what is left of the nation's abandoned towns and cities, and it's up to Mr., a death-dealing rogue vampire hunter, to get Martin safely to Canada, the continent's new Eden. This also stars Danielle Harris, and that's about it. Danielle Harris and Nick Demichi from the werewolf movie Late Phases from 2014. Great werewolf movie. So yeah, Stakeland, one of my favorite vampire movies. I'm not usually the biggest vampire fan, but this is definitely like top 10 worthy vampire films. Triangle. Are we there already? Yeah. Number 4, Triangle. Another movie that is listed as 2009, but got a wide release in the States in 2010. This is an Australian film by director Christopher Smith, who directed Black Death, Severance, Creep, Concentration, which just got released recently, and The Banishing. All of them I've seen, all worth checking out, except for The Banishing. I wasn't a big fan of that one, just kind of seemed generic. All right, but we're not talking about that movie. Triangle. This is one of those time loop movies. It's very interesting. And it is, the synopsis is, When Jess sets sail on a yacht with a group of friends, she cannot shake the feeling that there is something wrong. Her suspicions are realized when the yacht hits a storm and the group is forced to board a passing ocean liner to get to safety, a ship Jess is convinced she's been on before. So, yeah, she has deja vu, and then we quickly realize that it's a time loop movie, and she's got to find out how to break the loop. And very interesting, very mind fuckery. Like, it's one of those movies that's kind of hard to really understand by the end. It seems like there might be some plot holes, but it's still fascinating. And yeah, just a very fun movie. I enjoy these kinds of time twist movies, like loop films. Looper was a good one like this. So yeah, this is like the horror movie version of Looper in a way. Number three will be another remake. Lots of remakes in 2010. Um, and this one is Let Me In, the remake of the foreign film Let the Right One In by director Matt Reeves, who everyone now knows from The Batman. He directed The Batman, he directed Cloverfield, one of my favorite found footage movies, and he directed a couple of the Planet of the Apes films. So, Let Me In, starring Chloe Grace Moretz and Richard Jenkins. So, a bullied young boy, and it's a vampire movie. A bullied young boy befriends a young female vampire who lives in secrecy with her guardian. And then it says it's a remake of Let the Right One In. All right, which was an adaptation of a book. I did not know that. So what I will say about this one real quickly before moving on is I prefer this one over the remake, the original. I prefer this one over the original slightly. I just think this one is shot better. I love the soundtrack of this one. It's set in the 80s. I love Chloe Grace Moretz. I think she's quite beautiful. And let me readjust myself. It's not the first remake she did. She did Carrie also. And yeah, I just the cinematography, the cast, performances. I just think this one is a better version of Let the Right One In. Controversial probably, but I don't give a shit. That's all I do is say controversial shit. All right, next up, The Last Exorcism. So we got a trend here. We got like nothing but found footage movies and remakes on here. So here's another found footage movie. The Last Exorcism. In fact, this one is my favorite found footage movie. And I do have a review for this one. And this is by director Daniel Stam. Stamm. German director. He did Pray for the Devil and 13 Sins and Down. And this one is about it says, after years of performing exorcisms and taking believers' money, Reverend Marcus travels to rural Louisiana with a film crew so he can dispel what he believes is the myth of demonic possession. So I love the premise, love the characters. Like I said, I got a whole review for this movie. Check it out. I think it's criminally underrated. It's one of the best, if not, I think it's the best found footage movie out there. PG-13, and damn, is it great for PG-13. It's very scary, dark, creepy ending. The woman who plays the lead character who's possessed does a fantastic job. Phenomenal film. Check it out. Last Exorcism. Number one, though, Frozen. Adam Green's Frozen. Love this movie since the first time I watched it. And this movie just has so much terrific tension in it and great characters. The dialogue. Got a review for this one also. By the way, I didn't give my rating for Let Me In. That's a 9 out of 10. And now my number one and number two are 10 out of 10s. I think these movies are both just flawless to me. Hardly anything wrong with them. I love them. Frozen, I was talking about earlier with Devil. This is another movie, very, kind of claustrophobic, stuck in one, shitty situation, impossible to get out of. Like, that's just my cup of tea. I love these kinds of horror movies with these scenarios where there's so many different things that go wrong, and they got so many different things to worry about: the weather, the wolves below. They're getting frostbite and their freaking skin's getting stuck to the bars they're holding on to. It's disgusting and just great direction by Adam Green. This is, I think, objectively, like, this is his best movie, but it's not my favorite movie of his. My favorite would be Hatchet because it's just more fun. Got a lot of nostalgia for that one. But, this movie still, I think it's his best movie. And it's a very simple premise. It's just three people stuck on a ski lift. And they're stuck up there for a whole weekend. And they got hungry wolves below just waiting for them to come down. So yeah, I don't need to read the synopsis because I think what I just said is good enough. Three people stuck, they're fucked, and that's it. Will they make it out of there? Will they find a way down? Will someone hear them crying for help? Lots of cameos. Kane Hodder has a cameo in this. Lots of actors from other Adam Green films make an appearance here. Stars Ashley Bell, I think. No, is that her name? Am I thinking of the other movie? Hold on. Emma Bell. Emma Bell from Final Destination 5, Sean Ashmore, and Kevin Zegers, and Adam Green's ex-wife. So yeah, Frozen, that's my number one. My number one and two were kind of interchangeable, but I'll give it to Frozen, just because I love this movie since the first time I watched it, and I've seen it a little bit more, and just I love the characters in this so much, and the tension. Just this movie to me is just, it's more believable and more terrifying than The Last Exorcism, but still, both 10 out of 10s, but this one's more believable. And yeah, I'd like to see a sequel to this. So yeah, not Smile 2, not Fall 2. Let's get a Frozen 2. So yeah, that's my top 10 of 2010. Let me know what your top 10 is in the comments below if you want to do so. And so yeah, that's all I gotta say. And the next video I make, if I do make one, will be probably my top 11 of 2011. And maybe I'll just keep that going. I'll do the top 12 of 2012 and top 13 of 2013 for episode 13, and just keep that going all the way up to 2019. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. Thank you so much for watching. Hope I introduced you to some movies that you've never heard of, maybe. Let me get rid of that. And so yeah, what are your thoughts on Evil Dead Rise? Where does this sit in your ranking? For me, I already did a ranking, by the way, so if you wanted to see my ranking before Evil Dead Rise came out of the other 4 movies, go check out that video. I'll just say, without spoiling that ranking in this video, I'll just say Evil Dead Rise would be second from the bottom. Still great movie. It's a great franchise. All of them are good, but this was my second least favorite in the franchise. So yeah, number 4 out of 5. So yeah, Auf Wiedersehen.